Hello, and welcome to episode 22 of Cooking with Grief, the audio equivalent of the Matrix sequels. It's pretentious, too long, and severely underutilises Monica Bellucci. As ever, I'm joined by my willing co-host, the Neo to my Mr. Anderson, Chris.
Hi.
Yes, that means we're the same people.
That aspect was lost on me.
Okay, sorry.
You know, if you listen to the podcast regularly, you realise that I have no sense of popular culture. And I was going to say that I have seen The Matrix, but obviously not well enough to get that reference.
What, to know that Neo's the main character? You really didn't pay attention, did you?
I thought it was all about, what's the dude with the pills?
Morpheus.
I thought he was just a pharmaceutical salesman. I think I missed the point of it.
Oh, you're thinking of that one with Jake Gyllenhaal.
What, Brokeback Mountain?
I was going with Love and Other Drugs. But anyway, let's just go over the format of Cooking with Grief. As ever, we've each brought two surprising, interesting, or otherwise titillating facts to share. And neither of us has heard what the other one's going to talk about until he brings it up and then exposes our painful lack of knowledge on the subject. And so, without further ado, I think we can get started with your first topic.
So, Chris, I'm going to start off with a question, as I often do. What's the weirdest thing you've ever done to attract someone?
I like to think that I'm look all brooding and Batman and strong silent type, but actually was just that weird awkward kid in the corner.
Is that what you're going for? Trying to come off like Batman? By lurking in the corner of a nightclub, not talking to anyone.
And by in the corner, I mean I was up in the rafters, just occasionally dropping down.
In a Batman costume.
People in the back of the neck. I knew she was the one when she countered it. Flipped me over like judo move.
Yeah, and you thought you found your nemesis / life partner.
Exactly, it was the Catwoman story.
You know, that perfect marriage of cats and bats.
See, you know me well enough to know how much of that story is true, but I like the idea that the listeners are going like, how weird is he on the scale of doesn't like to talk too much to karate chop strangers in the neck? Like, where does this guy fall on the scale? I assume there's a reason to this story rather than just trying to get me to tell my Batman stories.
They're trying to reveal your true identity. Well, it's not as weird as something as scientists have discovered that wombats do to attract a mate. In order to attract a lovely wombat partner, they produce cube-shaped poos and stack them as high as possible.
Like Lego?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think they click together, but yeah, a Lego-esque tower of poo. These towers also mark territory and acts as a nice focal point for a living room.
Well, I can honestly say I have never tried to attract a mate with my poo.
I think that's for the best.
So, you know, just narrowing down the whole how weird is this guy on the scale.
Draw a line well before sculpting your own shit.
Yes.
You know, it's one aspect I've always liked about him. To quote the BBC article on this topic, despite having round anuses, and as a side note, what a joy to have that in your morning news when you wake up. So despite having round anuses, like other mammals, wombats do not produce round pellets. Instead, researchers have revealed the elasticity of their intestines sculpt these poo cubes. I'm not quite sure how impressed I would be if a potential partner presented me with a sort of a column of...
Would you not be impressed by the fact that they were able to shape it with their own butthole?
Impressed?
Because I'll be honest,
impressed is a strong word.
I've not been able to... try as I might, I've never once been able to shape anything with my butthole.
I think there are lots of ways that men can learn from the animal kingdom and how to attract a mate. Birds tend to build nice things, collect shiny objects. I think that's a better tactic. Dance, yeah. Colourful plumage. I think that's infinitely better than catcalling.
Actually, you say catcalling, but let's be honest, all that's what birdsong basically is.
Yeah, that's true, actually, yeah. Like, people often, they say they wish they could talk to animals, but if they did, all they would hear from birds is just screaming from trees, I'm a bird, come have sex with me. Well, actually, I don't know if they said I'm a bird. I think that bit's assumed.
Yeah, there's probably a mixture of I'm hungry, I want to have sex, I've just had sex, and oh god, the existential terror is crushing my soul.
Do you think birds are that affected by ennui? Are they not more likely to just be thinking, like while they're flying, thinking, oh god, better not stop flying, otherwise I'll die?
Yeah, maybe.
I don't know if they have long nights of the soul.
You'll never know because you've never taken the time to ask, have you?
Yeah, it's definitely the time that's the the barrier there. If you could talk to any animal, what would you want to talk to?
Like a bird would be a good one, like something that's like seen a lot of things, because you can be like, oi, what's going on over there?
You know you have Google, which is
but
an internet bird, always shitting on our doorsteps.
You know, but I was thinking, like an eagle or something could go flying, go tell you how the traffic is over there or something, and then report back. Like, that's pretty easy. Like Sauron, he used crows, didn't he?
Yeah, not to check the
Good
traffic,
enough for
though.
Sauron. No, but to check the hobbits, and they're basically like traffic.
I'm not even going to try and unpick that statement.
Go on, why? What would you talk to?
I think I'd like to chastise a tortoise.
Why would you chastise a tortoise? What did they ever do to you?
The giant tortoises have lived, for over 100 years, seen the most dramatic changes in the world's
Well, they haven't. They've just
history.
sort of been stuck on an island that hasn't changed.
Yeah, but what have they done with their time?
Yeah, that's true. They haven't built anything.
They're underachievers and slow eaters. I can't abide that.
Fair enough.
Am I going to get hate mail from pro-tortoise
From the
groups?
pro-tortoise. Yeah, me. Just sending you email saying, what's wrong with you?
Yeah, leave them alone.
Did you know that the giant tortoises are apparently delicious? And Charles Darwin, when they landed at Galapagos, whatever ship it was that landed there,
The Beagle.
I'd say Bounty, but Beagle, that's the one, thank you. Yeah, when they landed there, Darwin collected his specimens of finches and whatnot for his study, and everybody else just hunted all the tortoises because they were apparently delicious, and you could stack them on top of each other in the ship.
And you could store water in the shells, so they were dead useful.
Was that a deliberate pun, or was that just like your Mancunian coming through?
They had to impose a rule, right, we can eat all of them but two because they were so delicious, but we have to bring two back. And then in the night, they ate the last two. They were that delicious that it was worth essentially driving a species to near extinction. Like, if we found out that panda meat was absolutely delicious,
then pandas would finally have a use. I'm all for saving the animals, and
but they've got to meet us halfway.
of all the species in the world, pandas are just the most pointless. They're only kept alive because they're so cute. Like, if there was a lizard that only ate one type of highly unnutritious food, which it was biologically like, it had evolved a stomach and a digestive tract which was in no way suited to digesting this highly already not nutritious food, and didn't reproduce at any sort of sustainable rate and was just generally rubbish, everyone would be like, fuck that lizard, like, just let it die.
You're going to get hate mail from the pro-lizard lobby now.
No, if anything, I'm standing up for the lizards. I'm saying the lizards wouldn't be treated with such compassion. I mean, I got to get hate from the panda lobby. WWF are going to be like, fuck you.
I assume not the wrestling federation.
Well, I feel like the two will combine, someone dressed as a panda will just bring a steel chair round to my house and deck me.
Okay, so that was my first topic. Chris, what have you got for your first one?
Well, I'm going to delve into science, as I often do, as the scientific correspondent, meaning that I know slightly more than you, but not massively. But today we're going into the fucking school of science. And this is something I'm sure you'll relate to, because obviously we're both from England, both from Northern England at that. This is something that I'm sure, when I say fucking you'll understand. US research of 193 countries has established a possible link between average temperature, hours of sunlight, and alcohol consumption, and have come to the conclusion that people who live in cold, wet climates are more likely to drink heavily.
I'm going to say it. Fucking duh.
like, surely just any small amount of time in somewhere like Northern England, it's dark when you wake up, it's raining all day, you don't see the sun for weeks. It's like, what else are you going to do but drink?
And not only that, but you think even in the olden days, like if people, like the one place, that was always warm would be like the local pub or the local tavern. There's lots of people in there drinking.
Exactly.
They've probably got a fire on.
Exactly. I mean, I suppose it was just everybody sort of understood this, and then let's quantify it. I mean, just every stereotype of Russia should be enough to be like, maybe there is a link.
Or even, you said it was what, an American study?
Yeah.
They could have looked to Alaska, like they're bigger drinkers, like, because it's weird in America, like for a country that sort of glorifies beer in a lot of places. They're really like not suspicious. That's not the right word, but there's definitely a taboo around like day drinking.
So I read a travel review of some American who spent one night in Manchester, and she just did not get Manchester at all. And she was just like, everybody was drunk. And she was like, in America, being drunk is an embarrassment. But there, everyone was so proud of it. And everybody from like 18-year-old students to like 70-year-old women, it's just like, it's a Friday night in the city centre. Like, what else would you do?
Yeah, and I guarantee that what you thought were 18-year-olds were definitely 15-year-olds with fake IDs.
To be fair, Manchester is like, yeah, it's like Manchester's something like the biggest student population in Europe. So it's like, yeah, there's a lot of bars. So on that note, that is why apparently in Scotland, they're now pushing to reduce the amount of alcohol advertising during winter months, because everybody's already looking to get shit-faced because of the aforementioned cold, rainy, depressing weather.
Do you think advertising makes that much of a difference? Like, to have that much of a cultural impact?
But you know, I'm thinking of things to help. You can't ban it, because then you just end up with, like, Al Capone.
What, coming back from the dead?
Yeah, like, my time has come.
Tax evasion be damned.
So yeah, that is drinking in our depressing little island.
That is the one thing we can cling to in a post-Brexit Britain.
Oh yeah.
Ugh.
Okay, so now that I've driven all our listeners to drink, please can you help us all get back on the wagon?
Sober?
Off the wagon? Yeah, sober. Just somewhere.
I'll try my best. We've spoken before on this podcast how Marvel films have had to adapt to Chinese cinema goers.
Mm-hmm.
Memorably, you might remember that Captain America came out as Captain Big Tits over there. And for my second topic, I'm returning to the twin worlds of superheroes and Chinese cinema markets.
Let's never be said that Cooking with Grief runs out of material surprisingly quickly.
But Venom is an absolute smash success there.
Well, that's good.
End of topic. Thank you for listening. No, I mean, not just financially, although it has broken lots of box office records, but the weird thing is the sort of cultural effect that the film's having, because audiences are really resonating emotionally with Venom, the symbiote who attaches to the main character and gives him, I don't know what, the power to transform into a sort of big black behemoth.
I can tell you're a fan of the film.
Oh yeah, I've seen the trailer almost all the way through, but Chinese audiences see Venom as the ideal boyfriend.
Honestly, right, it is such a weird film, because I actually have seen it. I kind of see what they're getting at. Like, as a film, it makes no sense. Please continue.
Yeah, it does seem all over the place, but there's a concept in Chinese culture called the Nanyo Li, the sort of
course.
The boyfriend power level, as in like the
what?
Like you'd say, like if someone's like an ideal significant other, like you'd say like his boyfriend level's really good or whatever.
Do they just live in like a giant game of like Pokemon or something? This guy's only a level 17 boyfriend. I play my level 76 boyfriend card and defeat him.
Yeah, and if that's the case, then Venom is a rare shiny card that beats everything else. From what I've read, he is seemingly what a stammeringly English Hugh Grant was to Americans in the 90s, because he's been called the national boyfriend, and all because the film depicts I don't know, as a socially responsible alien who saves the world, but is also emotionally intelligent and aware of what women want, apparently. I don't know if you picked up on any of this subtext in the film.
I assume by the time this comes out, if you haven't seen Venom, you're probably not going to see Venom, and you definitely haven't seen Venom, so spoilers ahead. So let me just sort of explain the film. So, starts off, it's basically it's going for a little bit of a body horror concept, like something breaks loose on a spaceship, causes everybody to die horrifically, escapes, infects a body, like kills somebody, spreads from body to body, like taking control of its host. That's not Venom, by the way, that's Venom's like cousin or something.
I hope that's, dialogue straight from the film. My God, that's not Venom, that's Venom's cousin or something.
Oh, I put it this way, at one point in the film, there is the dialogue of the Venom symbiote saying to Tom Hardy's character, I'm a loser on my home planet, like you. And also at one point
Yeah.
tell somebody they're going to be like a turd rolling around in the wind.
That classic Bob Dylan B-side.
Yeah, so you can see how the that sentence would not be out of place. So it starts off with a bit body horror. Then it turns into a weird, wacky comedy. Then there's like action superhero stuff going on whilst this is all happening, but there's a bit of wacky comedy. Then there's a bit of a buddy comedy with Tom Hardy and Tom Hardy. Tom Hardy as Eddie Brock and Tom Hardy as Venom, having this weird little Lethal Weapon style buddy comedy. And then it's also a rom-com with a love triangle. In fact, a love quadrilateral, because you've got Tom Hardy, you've got Tom Hardy's ex-girlfriend, you've got Tom Hardy's ex-girlfriend's new boyfriend, who is actually a really nice guy and helps out Tom Hardy. And then whilst all this is happening, so Tom Hardy's like, no, these two, he's like, my ex is happy, her new boyfriend's a lovely guy, I just want them to be happy together, like I don't want to be in part of it. Whilst Venom is telling him, I'm going to make sure you two get back together, one way or another. And in fact, at one point, infects her so that she goes and gets off with him.
Right, I mean, against her consent?
Nah, not entirely.
That doesn't sound like a definite no.
No, well, you see, they actually bring that up. He's like, if they get off, but he's like, was that all the symbiote? She's like, not entirely. See? So, and then Tom Hardy, literally the end of the film, Tom Hardy says, I'm just going to leave her to be happy. And the symbiote in the back of his head says, I'm going to make sure you two get back together.
There is at least an emotional intelligence there that I think that's the bit that the Chinese audiences are responding to.
Also, so basically one of the characters that Tom Hardy Eddie Brock is friends with is a Chinese news agent. So basically so one of the rules is Eddie says, I'm going to let you turn into this massive monstrosity that eats people, but we're only going to eat bad guys. And so when this this Chinese news agent is being held up by a bad guy, they, turn into the giant raging monster and eat the bad guy. So that's good.
Yeah.
That's good boyfriend material. Oh yeah, I suppose major spoilers is because he's a loser and he likes Eddie, the symbiote decides to stay on Earth and save Earth rather than destroy it like his original plan. So that's nice.
Although lacks the ability to follow through on his plans. Bit wishy-washy.
Yeah, that's true. It is literally given like one line of dialogue where he's just like, Riot, the enemy, is going to his cousin, not cousin, but anyway, is going to destroy Earth. I've decided I don't want to. Why? Because I like Earth. That's literally it. Like,
keep it simple.
Yeah, there's no like long arc where he like discovers that actually, he discovers all the different things he likes and sees the other his ways. He's just like, no, I like you personally.
Like a montage of him trying ice cream and
yeah, exactly.
roller coasters.
Actually, saying that,
wouldn't it be nice if we?
Well, no, saying that, he does take a liking to tater tots.
Are they like small potatoes?
Yes.
I like small potatoes.
Are you a alien?
No, but I think my dialogue is less convincing than Venom's sometimes.
So basically we should all marry Venom, is what you're trying to tell me.
Well, it certainly sounds like China wants to. Yeah, I mean, from the trailer, I wouldn't... Well, it sounds like the film doesn't know what it wants to be.
It
and
doesn't.
If it's stuck to one, and it sounds like a script written by a committee rather than a singular
Weirdly,
vision.
I think that's why it became so popular, because like it got an absolute like tearing apart by the critics, and it is not objectively a good film, and yet because it's so weird and inconsistent and, like I say, changes tone literally within scenes, or sometimes you have one scene where one actor's playing it deadly straight and serious and the other one's taking it all tongue-in-cheek, like Alan Rickman in Robin Hood. It just works out so beautifully wrong that it's actually quite an enjoyable 2 hours.
There's something for everyone.
Yeah, like if it had just stuck to one tone, like I think it probably wouldn't have been that good. You'd just be like, this is kind of dull. It changes so often, it's hard to say. It's hard to call it boring at the very least.
Well, that's something. There were plenty of boring films.
Exactly. Welcome to Film Reviews with Cooking.
Yeah, I mean, that's always going to be where we ended up. From the trailer, I wouldn't have thought that Venom would make the ideal boyfriend, but...
Have you seen his tongue?
I have, and...
There you go.
That's all you need. Any young, impressionable listeners wondering what you need to to do to attract a mate. It's not push out some square poo, just have a long tongue and know how to use it.
Worked for Gene Simmons.
Oh, I thought you were going to say Jesus then, I don't know why. I don't remember that bit in his book. So that's my second and final topic, and Chris, you're going to close us out with your second one.
Yeah, so sticking with the theme, I'm going to review films I haven't seen. So let's get started with My Fair Lady. I'm going to stick to science, which I also don't understand. This is some, what is currently recent news, but won't be by the time this goes to air. But they've managed to make a plane fly that has no moving parts whatsoever. So obviously a normal plane has engines with fans or a propeller or whatnot, and they obviously make a lot of noise. So what they've managed to do, they say plane, it's more of a drone, it's like a scale model, but it's basically what it does is it charges the air, so it's electrically charged, has a positive charge and a negative charge on the wings, and then that charges the air molecules, or the nitrogen in the air, which itself, and I don't know how much of GCSE physics you remember, but opposites attract and like repel. So these charged ions then move away from the positive end of the wing and towards the negative end of the wing, and on the way push all the other air molecules that are neutral and bounce them out the way with it, and expels air out the back, making it go forward.
Wow. And how long can it fly for?
Well, like I say, it was only a 5-metre model, and they flew it 60 metres indoors.
Right.
So yeah, at the moment, it's not got enough capacity. It can't lift anything heavy. They had to make it super lightweight just to take off. And so at the moment, you couldn't actually put anything on it.
So it's probably going to be a while before we have commercial airlines with these offering a range of mediocre food.
But the idea is, because it's all electrical, in theory, if you had it all powered by, say, solar power, you could have it pretty much indefinitely flying, which obviously not much use if you got passengers, but if you were to do it fully automated, you could just have it flying above, acting sort of as a satellite. You know, not an actual satellite, obviously, but like sort of in place of a satellite, you could have it hovering over an area. And because it's so silent, you know, like you get all these issues with noise pollution, that air. You know, I don't know if you've ever lived under a flight path, but I have. And it gets quite noisy sometimes.
I once lived next to a train tracks, and that was loud enough, so I imagine planes are louder.
Well, it depends how close you are. The good news about living under a flight path is at least they tend to be slightly above where you live.
You'd hope.
So yeah, we'll get rid of that, which again opens up more flight paths, because, you know, people won't be that bothered about them flying over the house if they're silent.
People will still complain, saying, I don't want my view, you know, momentarily distracted by a silent plane flying overhead. Not in my backyard.
Or over it. Do you want to know what the romantic name they've come up with for this breakthrough in human advancement? Version 2.
Oh.
I don't know what happened to version 1.
I think we can guess that it managed to crash and burn.
Yeah, probably. The thing is, right, so the worst thing is, I actually did aerospace engineering for a couple of years at uni, and I cannot remember a single part of it.
Apart from the fact that planes need moving bits.
Yes. Also, I can remember that there's no actual consensus on how wings work. There's actually competing theories on which one is correct.
What, like airplane wings or all wings?
Yeah, airplane wings.
Surely people know why planes fly.
They know how they fly, but the exact mechanism of action of why they work is disputed.
Remind me to never call you for a pre-flight nerves chat.
Statistically, you're not likely to die. You're more likely to die on the way to the airport.
Again, that's not a reassuring thing before I'm about to set off.
So the thing I like, though, about this is, you know, now we're trying this new plane technology, and version 1 can crash and burn because it'll just be a scale model in a controlled environment. Whereas back, you know, pre-Wright brothers, or even Wright brothers, like when all these people were thinking of these new ways to imitate birds, you had to just
go for
Icarus and just like, it's like, all right, I think this will work. I've got strapped a bicycle to some wings that flap about when I pedal, and now I'm going to cycle off the edge of the Grand Canyon. Wish me luck.
Yeah, or the guy trying to invent the paraglider who jumps off the Eiffel Tower.
He videoed it as well. he was very confident that it would work, having presumably never tested it at all. Just jumped off.
Yeah, and he lost in a thrilling 1-0 defeat to gravity.
Exactly. Gravity is a harsh mistress. Old-timey science where they really just had to, try it. This may kill us. This may not. Let's give it a go. If it works, we'll be famous.
Yeah, when you look at those early prototype ones, they're like big boxes, instead of wings, because they thought just trying to get as much air moving through it. It's just insane. So to think that within just over a century to go to not even having moving parts is pretty incredible.
Imagine being, Yuri Gagarin, going to space for the first time and being like, I'm literally just sitting on thousands of gallons of fuel, highly explosive fuel, hoping it doesn't blow up like it sometimes does.
Do you know Russian cosmonauts were equipped with shotguns on their missions?
To kill Martians?
No, because assuming they'd land in sort of remote Siberia, they might have to fend off bears having made it back to Earth. Imagine that you've danced among the stars and you get killed by a bear on your way home. Obviously, having landed, not you picked up one on the way.
Look out for space bears.
Hey pals, make sure you keep listening after the outro, because there's a message from some fellow podcasters about their podcast, which we think you'll really enjoy. Okay, cheers, bye.
Okay, so that wraps up Cooking with Grief, episode 22. Thank you as ever for listening. We hope you've learned something. We hope we've learned something. And we hope we learn some more things to share with you next week.
It's debatable.
Yeah, don't get your hopes up too high. But we hope you had a good time. And it's goodbye from me.
And it's goodbye from me.
Bye.
Bye.
We'll get the hang of this one day.
Again, I doubt it. You've got to stop promising things that we're not at all capable of delivering.
Play the music!
Obviously the music will be edited in post. So, I can't play the music. Well, I can play the music right now, but...
Let's do it live.
Okay, I'll need to get my guitar out, tune up.
Come on, this is our Bob Dylan at the Albert Hall. That wasn't actually at the Albert Hall, it was actually in Manchester, but everyone always forgets Manchester, so they just describe it to London. Judas, play it loud. I'm just rambling now. Let's hit stop.
Hi everyone, it's Pete from the Pete and Fran podcast here. If you've been enjoying this podcast, we think you'd probably enjoy ours as well. Fran and I like to talk about films, both new releases, old classics, and also some B-movies. But we're not like the other 5 million movie review podcasts out there. For example, do they have questions like this for their guests? Do you think Quentin Tarantino was the mastermind behind 9/11?
I guess Quentin could have done it.
There's a rumour going round that there's a secret society in Hollywood for people with great hair. Are you involved in that in any way?
I'm not only the hair club president, but I'm also a member.
I mean, well, not to put too fine a point on it. How was the shit?
Fortunately, it wasn't. It was huge, but it wasn't so huge, and it came so slowly that I was able to assimilate it a little bit.
Well, thanks for sharing that with me. Was I actually talking to those people? You'll have to listen to find out. I also guarantee no other movie podcast has a phone that can call people in the past.
Right, so let's connect the time phone, and we're going to talk to Lenin in Russia.
Who you been hanging about with recently? Who's your fellow favourite communist?
Well, my favorite too. It's hard to say which one. Stalin, he is such a good fan.
Who are we talking to?
Today I thought we'd call President Richard Nixon.
Do you think you'll be remembered as a good president?
Yes, nothing will happen to me that will besmirch my record. Nothing will ever come to light about certain wrongdoings I may have committed whilst in office. David Frost will interview me, and everything will be fine.
We've got a range of great guests coming up, and a host of terrible films to watch. So why not come along and check out the Pete and Fran podcast? You can find us on Podbean, iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, Castbox, and SoundCloud. We're everywhere. So why not finish this podcast and give the Pete and Fran podcast a listen today?